Good morning, Vietnam!
Happy Stanley Cup playoffs.
It's time for the Stanley Cup playoffs, so of course we are here to finally make our brackets and our picks.
And I'll be giving you the perfect bracket. So you might want to watch this and then put it into your NHL.com brackets to win some prizes or whatever they got handing out.
Might as well just get into this.
Round one.
I mean, first two are pretty obvious.
We have the fraudulent New York Rangers against the terrible Washington Capitals.
I got the Rangers in like 5.
Artemi Panarin is on a tear right now. He's had 9 points in his last 5 games. And Shesterkin and Lindgren are evenly matched in their numbers, but Shesterkin's obviously the better goalie. And so we've got New York in 5. Also Washington with the worst goal differential. Like, they're kind of frauds.
In this series, unfortunately, I think Igor and the boys in blue play lockdown offensive and defensive hockey. I think this is a series that ends in 4 games. I don't know how Washington ended up where they were. It's a miracle, honestly. But yeah, bye to Washington. It should have been the Penguins, but Rangers in a sweep.
Next we have Carolina and the Islanders.
Carolina in like 5. Maybe the most boring playoff series of them all, by far.
These teams have both been playing well lately. The Islanders have been trying to get into the playoffs, and they did.
I think Carolina wins this series in 5 games. The only way I see it going beyond 5 is, Varlamov. I don't know if he's going to go game 1 or you're going to go Sorokin. I know Varlamov has kind of led this team to where they are right now. He's been the better goaltender, but I just think the Hurricanes are one-on-one defensive structure. They're just lockdown team, and I think I have a hard time believing the Islanders can win this. So Carolina in 5 games, and this was a first-round series last year, but yeah, Carolina in 5.
Carolina in 6.
Okay, up next we have the 2 hard ones actually. The Battle of Florida between Tampa and Florida. This one should be a good series, and even though Florida is the first seed, I'm actually going to go a bit of an upset. I got Tampa Bay winning this series. I'll probably say like 7.
For Florida and Tampa, I think this one's going to go 7. I think both are offensive powerhouses. Both have incredible goaltending. But I think it's going to be Tampa that pulls through. I think that Kucherov is just going to be too much for the Panthers, and he's going to propel Tampa to the second round.
I know both of my fellow Have a Shift Day partners picked the Lightning, but I'm going to have to disagree with them here. I think the Panthers win in 6 games. I think Bobrovsky's been a lot better this year. I know Vasilevsky hasn't been at the top of his game, but when playoffs turn around or come around, Vasilevsky's going to turn into the dog that he is. I mean, yeah, but Tampa Bay, they got a lot of weapons. You know, Kucherov getting the most points this year in the league. But I think Tkachuk, Reinhart, and just the way they play, they get in people's faces. I think it's going to be too much for Tampa Bay, and I think they win the Battle of Florida in 6 games.
Up next, we have the one series that I care about the most, Boston and Toronto.
I think this one's also going to go 7.
I know Toronto's had its fair share of Game 7 collapses against this team. 2013, 2018, 2019, crying. But you know what? This season, it ain't the keys.
Nope.
Leafs in 7, baby. Nope. Let's go. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
I mean, Boston literally owns the Toronto Maple Leafs franchise. And I think yet again, the Bad Bees are going to send Matthews, Marner, Nylander to Cancun a little early this year.
Wrong.
And I got Boston in 7. In the Garden, they're going to win this series in 7. I mean, if I'm Montgomery, coach of the Bruins, I think you got to stick to one goaltender here. I know they like the Swayman and Allmark duo, but in playoffs, you got to stick to one guy, whoever's hot. And that was a big issue last year for the Bruins. But I think they figure it out.
Both teams have been iffy their past few games. Boston lost to Washington and Ottawa in their last 2. Weren't able to clinch the Atlantic, but I still think that they're going to beat Toronto. I think that they're I think their goaltending
Toronto sucks.
and their offense is going to be too much.
Leafs, go.
I don't think Samsonov. I don't think Samsonov can beat the Boston Bruins. The Bruins in 7.
All right, moving on to the West.
Move on to the Dallas Stars and Vegas Golden Knights.
Dallas, obviously top team in the West. Vegas, defending champs. Listen, I have a lot of games going 7. I think this one's also going 7.
Obviously, Vegas, they went all out at the deadline, getting Hannafin, Tomas Hertl, and, I mean, they're a wagon of a team. But, unfortunately, they drew the Dallas Stars in the first round, and that will send them home early. I got Dallas in 7 games.
I ain't gonna beat around the bush here. Like, the Stars, as much as Vegas did win the Cup last season, I think Dallas is gonna beat them in 6 or 7.
Vegas's salary cap cheating is not going to work this year. And Dallas, I think their goaltending is going to be dominant. I think their defense is going to be dominant, and that they're going to be pushing the defending champs to a first-round exit.
Winnipeg, Colorado.
I have Winnipeg in 6. I know we've got Colorado, Nathan McKinnon in the playoffs, and he's very dominant. I just think that Winnipeg, I think it's going to come down to goaltending with Connor Hellebuyck. I think he's going to be able to hold off McKinnon, and I think that Georgiev is not going to be good enough for the Avs to be able to get out of the first round.
Obviously, Winnipeg's been hot. I mean, they tormented the Avalanche at home a couple weeks ago. But I think the Jets have played the Avalanche the best this year. They've known how to shut down McKinnon. And as much as, I just can't see McKinnon and Makar losing in the first round, their goaltending worries me. I mean, Georgiev, he's played, over 50 games. You kind of see in this last couple of weeks of the season that he's just gassed. He's gassed. And I think, unfortunately, with Avalanche making all these moves, unfortunately, I think they're going to go home early, and I think Winnipeg moves on here. Shout out Jesse. Winnipeg in 6 games.
This series is definitely going to 7 games, but I know Winnipeg swept Colorado and dominated them this season, but I still think Nathan McKinnon's a new level in the playoffs. You can't go against that. It's hard to go against that. And yeah, I got the Avalanche.
All right, Vancouver, Nashville.
Nashville was one of the hottest teams for a while in the league.
After the coach said they can't go to the U2 concert, which is pretty amazing.
A lot of people think Vancouver's going to be a first-round exit, and Nashville's going to beat them. I don't think that's the case. I could see Demko going off here. Vancouver's the better team all around. And I think the Canucks are going to win this in 6 games, probably.
I think Vancouver and Demko and Net, who is now healthy, back from injury, are going to beat the Preds, win in 6.
Head coach Rick Tocchet really turned kind of that whole entire franchise around. Obviously, in the offseason, we really didn't know what direction they were going to go. But they made some additions, and, Thatcher Demko's, he's been unreal this season. Best goaltender I've seen in person by far this year. And I think Vancouver wins this series in 5 games.
And lastly, we got Edmonton in LA. Listen, Connor McDavid kind of owns the entire state of California, so and I also love EDM music, so I gotta go with Edmonton.
Edmonton and LA, I have going in 6 as well, but I have Edmonton winning, and similar to Nick's point, you can't stop Connor McDavid in the playoffs. I mean, you can, but LA can't. So McDavid and Draisaitl are going to be too much for the Kings. Edmonton 6.
All right, another disagreement I have with my fellow Have a Shift Day partners. I have a massive upset in the first round.
Hold on, listen. Listen, Jake.
I'm
gonna stop it. I'm gonna let you finish. But the Edmonton Oilers had one of the best seasons in the franchise history.
You did not just pull that Kanye West reference on Torture Poets Day.
I think the Kings slay the Dragon in the first round. I think to do it in 6 games at LA. Obviously, getting Pierre-Luc Dubois. I mean, they brought in that guy to beat a team like the Oilers. They played the Oilers well in these last couple series. Kopitar, Doughty, Kempe. I mean, they got guys that can play with McDavid and Draisaitl. Obviously, they're not at their level, but I have worries for both the goaltenders in this series. But I just think LA finds a way to upset the Oilers in the first round.
Yeah, you're not beating McDavid and Draisaitl. They're going to be hungry this season.
Back to the East, we have New York and Carolina. I think this one's going to go 7.
Who do I got to win this? Pretty easy. Jake's going to score 18 goals in this series. And Carolina's going to win this in 7 because Jake Essel's going to score the game-winning goal in overtime of Game 7.
I think the best two teams in the Eastern Conference for me, but I think Carolina beats Igor.
New York's offense will be led by Panarin. Carolina's offense will be led by Gensel. We miss you very much. That was a horrible heart.
I mean, Carolina went all in at the deadline getting Gensel, so Carolina in 6.
As much as it pains me a bit to say it, and I know Jake's going to kill me, I think the Rangers are going to win in 7. I just think Igor is going to be too difficult for the Hurricanes to beat ultimately in the end.
Florida-Boston, a rematch from last year.
I'm going to go back to Boston's struggles in the last few weeks of the season. I just think that Tampa's offense, their power play, their goaltending is going to be too dominant for Boston. I think Nikita Kucherov's going to continue to be on absolute tear. I think that they're going to beat Boston in 6.
But in this series, I think there's a deciding factor is a hot Jeremy Swayman. And I got Boston going to the Eastern Conference. I think they got a lot of pressure on them this year. Boston, time's ticking. Pastrnak, I think he had 110 points. He's been an absolute dog for that team. I think the next closest guy with the most points is Brad Marchand with 65. So Pasternak's carrying the team, but I just like the Bees to get past Florida this year. Little revenge. I'll do that in 7.
Tampa Bay, Toronto. Listen, I have to be unbiased here, which sucks. As much as I hate to say this, I'm going for accuracy here, not love. I hate to write this down, but I gotta go Tampa Bay in 7. I hope I'm wrong. I absolutely hope I'm wrong, cause if the Leafs beat Tampa again, I will cry of happiness and probably go run in the street of celebrating.
All right, moving on to the West second round. Dallas, Winnipeg.
I don't have many notes on this one. Dallas in 6. I just think that they've been too good all season. I think Jason Robertson is going to lead the way for the Stars. Jake Ottinger is going to just be a complete stud in net, and Dallas will win in 6.
I think Winnipeg had a nice run. They obviously made some moves at the deadline. Hallbuck, great goaltender. But I just think Dallas has been the best team in the West. Obviously, they're the 1 seed, so evidence shows that. I'll go Dallas in 5.
Dallas, Colorado, going to be an absolute bloodbath of a series. But honestly, Dallas in 6. I just believe in the Stars more. I think their depth is better, and I think Nathan McKinnon can't win it every year, so gotta go Dallas this season.
Vancouver, Edmonton. I think this is another series that's going to go to 7 games. Again, I think McDavid and Draisaitl are going to be too much for the Canucks.
Like I said, you can't go against McDavid and Draisaitl in the playoffs.
I know Demko is probably going to be on his best game for this, but I just think he's not going to have enough in him to stop those two. And, yeah.
Edmonton beating the Canucks because I don't think the Canucks are good enough to make a conference finals, especially when you have McDavid in that division.
Edmonton in 7.
Vancouver, LA. So obviously the Canucks are going to avoid McDavid and Draisaitl as the Kings took care of them in 6 games here. But Vancouver's a young team, so they got really nothing to lose. They got nothing to lose. It's their first time in the playoffs. They don't know what it feels like. And I got Vancouver going to the conference finals in 6 games.
Up next, moving on to the series, which anyone can win it. I literally, as I'm standing here, still don't know who I want to win this series. But you know what? For time constraints and for Megan giving me a bombastic side eye, I'm gonna go with the Tampa Bay Lightning to go back to the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm gonna say in like 6 or 7 because, Tampa Bay's has been on a new level lately. And I gotta go with the Lightning.
Conference Finals, we got a heavyweight matchup between the Hurricanes and the Bruins. I think the Bruins have the edge in goaltending here, but I like Jake Gensel going off in this series. He's been an unbelievable asset for the Hurricanes, and I think the Hurricanes finally get past the conference final and make it to the Stanley Cup.
Eastern Conference Final. This is another one. I have a lot of Game 7s. This is going 7 as well. But I'm taking the Rangers. I'm sorry, Jake. Both teams have incredible pieces up front, on their defense, amazing goalies. I think this one's going to be an absolute bloodbath. But I think the Rangers are going to pull it out. I think Igor is going to outplay Vasilevsky. He wishes.
Moving on to the Western Conference Finals. I know I said not to go against McDavid and Draisaitl in the playoffs, but keep in mind Gary Bettman runs the NHL, and ever since he's taken over, he has basically refused any Canadian team to get to the finals, and with that, we're keeping in the classic Gary Bettman form of the Dallas Stars going to the Stanley Cup Finals, because Gary Bettman hates all the Canadian teams for some reason.
Edmonton's not making the Stanley Cup Final. I'm sorry. I don't know how many games this one's going to go. I think 6 or 7. But I think Ottinger will finally shut down McDavid and Draisaitl. Edmonton's better offensively, but I think Ottinger will be better in goal, if that makes any sense. So Dallas in 6.
Dallas, Vancouver. Vancouver, historic run this year for you, going to the conference finals, but it's over. Jamie Benn, Jason Robertson, the old fellas, Jake Ottinger, they make it to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time since 2020.
Anyway, we have Dallas and Tampa Bay heading to the Stanley Cup Finals as a rematch of 2020. This time it's not the fraudulent bubble, though.
Now the question here is, does Jamie Benn and Tyler Sagan get their Stanley Cup and Joe Pavelski?
Because it's not the fraudulent bubble, sorry, Tracy, your team's getting absolutely smoked in 6 games. I have the Dallas Stars winning the Stanley Cup. Jumbo Joe Pavelski finally gets his Stanley Cup. Jamie Benn finally gets his cup. Tyler Seguin gets his Stanley Cup. Jake Ottinger becomes an absolute stud in the playoffs.
The answer to that question is no. Carolina is your 2024 Stanley Cup champion. And Penguins, you get your first round draft pick. Carolina in 6.
My Stanley Cup pick. I'm picking the Rangers. I'm sorry. I think this is once again going to come down to goaltending with Ottinger and Shesterkin, but I think New York just has enough offensive power to beat Ottinger. I think Artemi Panarin will lead the way, maybe even be the Conn Smythe winner. I don't know. Rangers in 6.
And yeah, this is my bracket. Even though I know it's going to be wrong and Toronto's going to win in 7 games. Yeah, that's my bracket. Anyway.
Playoffs start tomorrow. Hope you can make a bracket for fun. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and we will be covering the playoffs throughout the playoffs. Yeah.
Let's go, Pens.